So we're going to pick a first color that we're going to use for our frosting. We're going to start right up here. So I want my frosting to be green. Let's just start there. So in the center of our first layer of our frosting, we're going to put some green and do the same thing that we have here, except we're going to work in this smiley face motion because it's going to be coming around our frosting. So I'm going to add it here in the middle. And again, I want to stay nice inside that little layer. We're working one layer at a time. But notice that I'm leaving some white on each side of our color, similar to what I did here. I'm leaving some space left over. Then I'm going to take my white and I'm going to do the same thing that I did for our value scale, and I'm just going to pull some green into that space. So now I have my white edge, but it's turning into this light green because our light is closest to this area, so that's why it's the most white. On the opposite side, we're going to have our black added, but we're just going to put a little bit on the edge. We can always add more, but it's hard to take it away. And then pulling that black with your green or whatever color you chose into that space. So it's coming around the cupcake. So notice that I'm working in this like little smiley face motion, and it's coming around the cupcake. And you can always add more. Pastels are really good with overlapping and layering the color on. So if you don't like something, you can always just keep layering it on. Okay? Now we're going to continue this 2 more times right at the top here. So I'm just going to do that. Now when we're at the top here, we want to make sure that we're avoiding our cherry because that cherry is going to be treated differently. And we're going to do that one next. Okay? So I have my little wave at the top there. And you want to try to stay inside the lines best you can, but if you fall out of it, don't worry, because we can always fix that with the background after we add the background in. Okay? Now I should have my frosting all set, ready to go. Now, if you have a cherry or something else up top, just like I was saying, you're going to treat it separately. So red is one of my colors, but if you didn't have red, you can, or brown, if you chose to do a Reese's or something, then you can always use whatever color you want. Because again, you're making your own decisions on your cupcake. So in the same way that we just did our frosting, I'm going to add in some red right in the center of my circle. So this is a sphere because it's a 3-dimensional circle. So it's going to come around on the side of each of our cupcakes. So we're going to work in that same smiley face sort of way. We're adding in the darker red and the lighter red. And then I'm just going to add in a little black stem here. Okay? Look at that. So the next one we're going to do is down at the bottom for our wrapper. We're going to take whatever color we want. So I already used green. I'm not going to use green again. Let's use blue. Okay? So with my blue, I'm going to create a space between each of our wrappers because just like a regular wrapper, how it goes zigzag in and out, we're going to do the same thing. So the way that we're going to start that is kind of create these stripes of blue or whatever color you picked, but I'm going to leave a space in between. I'm doing the top and the bottom, but I'm leaving that nice space in between with nothing in it because that's going to be where we're creating our shadow and our highlight or our tint and our shade. Okay? Now I did the top and the bottom just to make sure that I'm creating this boundary between our frosting and our wrapper as well as between the bottom of the wrapper and the table. So that's why I wanted to create that line. The line on each side of them will be made by your white and your black. Now, just like your zigzags go in and out, they're going to have a highlight or a tint, and they're going to have a shadow or a shade. Okay, so I'm going to make a white line on the left side of every part of my blue line. On the left side, because just like on the top of our wrapper, on the left side of our frosting, we have the lighter tint or the lighter area. So I'm making an overlapping line that mixes my blue together to make that lighter blue area. Then a little bit of black goes a long way. So make sure that you're putting a very small amount of black on the right side of each of our blue lines, because we're going to go back in, we're going to add some more blue to make sure that's all mixed in. Okay. Then we're going to take our blue again, or whatever color you had, and go right over that black line, so that it kind of makes this darker blue instead of a black stripe. Okay, now the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to make a shadow for the bottom of on our table and create a background color. We want to make sure that we're starting with our black for our shadow, and because it's on the darker edges on the right side at all times, we're going to make a shadow on our table also on the right side. So you're going to add a little bit of a black line, and it doesn't have to be perfect because we're actually going to go over this again. Now, because I have a red cherry, but I have a red that I need to use for part of our picture, I'm going to use red for our table. So what we're going to do is we're going to first outline our cupcake and a horizon line, because just like before, we're going to make a boundary to make sure that we're not messing up anything that we've already done. Then I'm going to go in the same direction. You can even turn this to make it a little bit easier to do. But when I get close to my black, I'm going to actually go right over that black to make sure that it turns into a darker red, because a shadow is actually just the darker version of whatever color the table actually is. Okay, so we are filling all of this in. Anything below the horizon line is going to be your table color. And this is why we like to have our placemat, to make sure that we're keeping everything nice and clean, especially with oil pastels. Don't touch your clothes or anything when you're using these. And if you're wearing a white shirt, I'm sorry, I should have said this earlier. You should have rolled up your sleeves. So make sure that you're on a clean surface, okay? Now, after you fill this in, we only have one more color left, so I have yellow left. I'm going to take and I'm going to fill in my entire top. So we want to take and fill in all around your cupcake topper to make sure that there's a boundary. And then you should end up with something like this, okay? So we have an entire top all filled in. Now, I hope that this helped out, and make sure that you're uploading an image of your work. Have a great day, guys.